All right, welcome to another episode of Ran Out of Talent. I'm your host, Joe Zer Jr., and with me is my co-host, Zach Donathan, and our special guest, Nick Reppin. How's it going tonight, guys?
It's going all right. How about you guys?
Yeah, it's rain delay weekend for me, but we got our racing in and whatnot, and good 4th of July. I actually got some decent firework footage that wasn't from I went I won't say how high up in the drone, but I got above the fireworks. So
nice.
Pretty good.
It's pretty high up there.
Yeah. Well, for the 4th, we did my in-laws, they have a giant hill behind their house. In the winter, you can imagine it's great for sledding. But in the summer, you roll out a 250-foot black tarp and you just put water and soap on it and off you go. So
that is awesome.
Yeah. Then we kicked off to the roar race after that.
Awesome. So we'll get into that roar race because I was looking at the Region 5 results here. But first off, we have a couple of ads tonight, guys. Our first ad is going to be Party Crashers RC. So they're going to be doing a summer camp. It's coming up here pretty quick. This is the last ad he's going to be able to do for it before the summer camp. It's going to be July 14th through the 18th, and it's for kids within the St. Michael School District. What it entails is it's a week-long RC summer camp. So at the start of it, you get a slash kit, a charger, a battery. You get upgraded tools, a can of spray paint, and for the first few days, you build the truck, and on the last day, you all get together and you race it. It's a great opportunity to get kids into racing. It's limited to 24 kids. So if you guys, anybody knows anybody in the St. Michael School District, help spread the word. Fill it up. I mean, it's a great value. It's $495, and retail of the RC stuff you get is like $470. So it's a great opportunity to get people into racing. And he does all sorts of other events. Like if you want, he has kind of like a track in a box scenario. And he does the parking lot racing in Minnesota, the off-road parking lot racing. So let's say you want to have a birthday party and you have like he has everything from 1/10 scale to like 1/64 tabletop scale, bring to a party and whatnot. So he does everything. So check out Party Crashers RC on Facebook and give him a look. Also, we are brought to you today by Dollar Hobbies. Dollar Hobbies started in 2002. They're the largest seller of Traxxas products on Amazon. They have a freshly revamped site that Jeff Choban, who was on last week, worked endlessly on. They have over 13,000 products available at Dollar Hobbies with a Z.com. Over 130 brands carried. Nobody in the U.S. will beat their price. They will price match. Free shipping within the U.S. 48 on orders over $49. Most orders ship the same day. And they always have coupons and promotion running at dollarhobbies.com. They have a indoor carpet track. They do on-road and off-road. They have a different carpet for the off-road track, which is superb, and the standard black CRC carpet for the on-road. They do birthday parties and corporate events starting at $249. They have rental cars available. They have skilled store staff to help with repairs and to get you started. And also, we have coupon codes. Let me pull them up here. Use Joe Jr. at checkout at Dollar Hobbies to save 10% off your entire order. Use DRC at checkout at Dollar Hobbies to save 15% off of all Donathan RC products. Codes are good until August 31st. And we're going to start out with touring car guys for a little bit. They had a deal on, I don't know if it's still available, but they have a deal on a couple of TC8s that weren't claimed. If you guys pre-ordered them, and they're sitting on them right now. So they got a pretty good deal on some TC8s right now.
Well, Nick, how good was the TC8 this weekend?
Yeah, Nick, the TC8 looked pretty good.
The TC8 was very good. If they've got a deal on them, I think that's like the deal of the century because it's a brand new car and it worked pretty darn well out of the box.
And it's really durable. I did a little testing.
Now, well, I wasn't the one testing the durability. That was Zach. I did hand the controller over. That's for sure.
Yep. So you two ran the Region 5 paved on-road regional race, correct?
That's correct.
Yeah. So it was a club race on Saturday and the regionals on Sunday.
Okay, so what classes did you guys run for the regional event?
Mod
Just
touring
the
car.
look. Yeah.
I'm
so
saying
the-
all the classes that were ran.
Oh, let's
So
see.
the local classes there are Pro 10, GTE, which is 8 scale, and Mod Touring. We had
Okay.
some interest in I'll call it Pro Stock Touring car, which would be like 17.5 open ESC because the track's so big.
Yeah.
It's just more controllable than Mod Touring for people
Yeah.
that maybe, but the track's so big, it's like running
yeah.
25.5 on a carpet track.
I was going to say the track, you sent me that video earlier, Zach, and that
Mhm.
track mod touring car is plenty controllable
Yeah.
on that size of a track. So, yeah, you guys, so was that your first time running mod touring car this weekend, Nick, or have you had experience with the prior?
So I ran mod touring car one other time, and it was actually as a rent-a-ride with Zach about a year and a half ago.
Okay.
Yeah, he let me run his Awesomatics at the time. I think it was like a spare car or something like that. We got it together. We rolled up to Indianapolis. I don't believe it's there anymore. Turf Burners was the track. It was an indoor turf track, so it wasn't quite carpet. And I raced that weekend, and then this was the first time that I did it like with my own car and everything like that.
Gotcha. So I see you took the win, Zach. You ended up in that third spot. Did you not quite get that 98% consistency, Zach?
So we learned a lot this weekend.
Okay.
And there's still some questions in the air for me. But the one thing we learned is that when it's really hot out and there's a lot of grip in the track, new tires are faster.
Yeah.
And so, and I had made that assumption, but Nick kind of tested it and ended up doing
worked
really
out
well
quite
because
well.
of it. Yeah. New tires were like 5 or 6 tenths a lap faster than me than
Whoa.
third run tires.
Yeah.
That's significant.
And well, the car's hard to handle too with that. And so when especially on old tires, when the tires aren't warmed up yet, the rear end's squirrely. So on the first lap, we were going around onto the straight. I spun out,
Okay.
got back to 5th place, and I think I was up to 2nd or 3rd, and then I parked it fully under a 2x4. And didn't break the car, but I had to wait for all the other cars to go by.
Yep.
And then the marshal got my car, and then he had to push my whole body back out because it was pancaked.
Say, did you pump the body?
And then I took back off, and I ended up racing another local off-road guy. It was his kid, Nolan Hunt, who had 3rd place locked down until that point, and I made a hard charge and was able to, I guess, push him out of the way is kind of how it worked. And it was, but it was, I caught up a lot at the end of the straightaway.
Sure.
And when I was on my line and he also was on my line.
Yeah.
And it was just kind of, and so I let him go, and the next quarter he spun out, and I went by him. So it was probably my fault he spun out, but it was kind of.
But you waited for him for the initial contact, so
I did, yeah, I did. I feel bad about that. That's not how I wanted it to happen, but
yeah. Well, I mean, that's the way it works sometimes.
yeah.
So Nick, so how did you get into RC? Because I first noticed you when I started doing commentary for Mod Live Media.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, if we go all the way back to the beginning, I was probably like 7 or 8 years old. Excuse me. And my grandfather took me up to an air club, an aeronautics, like an airplane, RC airplane club. I want to
Yep.
say up in either Dayton, Ohio, or Hamilton, Ohio. There's a flight club out there. And his buddy Keith, who he'd known him for like 40 years, was a regular at that site. So one of the times we went to visit him, he buddy boxed me on like an old 27 megahertz radio.
Yeah.
Put it up there with like his nitro trainer, because he had all sorts of planes. Put me up there with the nitro trainer, and I was hooked like immediately. I thought it was the coolest thing ever.
Oh yeah.
Since then I was getting like little foam planes and gliders for birthdays and stuff like that. And then I got to the ground game bashing initially, probably in like late middle school, just with slashes, stampede, stuff like that. And then racing was when Hoosier RC Hobbyplex opened up 5 years ago. So that was when I got into
They've
racing.
only been there for 5 years, huh?
Yeah, 2020 or 2019. They'd been running Eddie and Angie. They had been running like off-road, 8-scale off-road at their house. They have a pretty big yard, so they had a track there for at least 2 or 3 years, I believe, or at least 2 seasons maybe. And then they had enough interest, and he's been doing his auctions, and they decided to open a shop. And that's everybody history from there, I suppose.
Yeah. So, Zach, I got a question for you, and this is totally off topic.
Okay.
But is Eddie, like, could you go to Eddie and help him to build his webpage for his product line? Because I see him post stuff for it. It's like, ooh, I want it, but there's no click to buy line.
I've tried.
Okay.
So the short, I've offered to help, and I didn't get into the nitty gritty with them, but I don't know what the exact thing. I think it's maybe a time issue.
Yeah.
And because it's a ton of time to get, because he's got variations on product. You can't just list, he's not like Associated's got, parts, but he's got all sorts of bearing kits, and then you got different sizes in the kits, and you got ball studs and washers and sensor wires, and then he's got standard products too, like his oils, glues, and his the dog dishes for like I don't know what for
tire
like when you
gluing
kicker,
yeah.
He's got all sorts of cool stuff. But that takes a lot of time. And like, trust me, of everybody who's built a website, just trust me, because like to get my website up and running initially, it was like 100 hours I had to put into it.
Yeah.
And every week, today I put in another 2 hours updating different things and new products and stuff like that.
Well, yeah, I bought one of your ready to go leads today.
I saw it. Thank you.
Yeah. I'm sitting there like I'm still using my iCharger to charge receiver packs. I need I need a lead for I went to the M8D.
Mm-hmm.
I need to update. I haven't updated it since I got it, and they've had like 3 or 4 updates since I bought it. So
yeah, it's a good charger.
So, it is. So you got going racing at the Hoosier RC Hobbyplex.
Yep.
What classes? I mean, I'm sure, it started out probably with like a slash for you, but like what class initially like grabbed you? Like this is where I'm going to build up.
Yeah. So for me, it actually started with, I had built a B5 in like right when I got done with high school, like that summer.
Oh yeah.
There was a track in Louisville, Scale Reproductions, like or Adventure RC Raceway.
Yep.
that my friend and I tried to go to, but we were high school kids, didn't have any money, so we did like one or two practice days, and I never raced it after that because I went
Yeah.
away to Lexington, went to school, didn't take it with me, all that stuff. So when I came back and Hoosier opened, I took it out of where it was in my closet. I bought a new battery because I'm sure the old one was junk, and then I shipped. We went over to a club day at Hoosier, so I had a mod motor in there from back then, but that mod motor was no new. I don't even think it was as good as the stock motors they had when I came back. So I was a rear motor, and they had mid motor cars. So for a while, I didn't really. I was like, I don't know if I really want to do this. But what grabbed me was Wheeler. So the first new kit I bought, like modern kit, was a B74, like kind of like right when they came out.
Sure.
And I was hooked, man. Like I bought all new stuff. Like I spent a day and a half or 2 days building it, and I could not wait for the next club day to show up. And I've always been a 4-wheel drive guy ever since then. I just absolutely love it.
I've been a 4-wheel drive guy since the 90s myself.
I will say you are very good at 4-wheel drive. You're pretty good at 2-wheel drive, but you're better at
I'm better at 4-wheel drive.
Because you find those little teeny tiny places that you can push it just that little extra and get those, if you're on a track the size of Hoosier, I'm guessing it's 4/10 between wheeler and 2-wheel.
Personally, for me, this is going to sound terrible. I love 4-wheel drive. Traditionally, you're right. I'll answer your question. Traditionally, you're right. I think there's usually like half a second or so between the two. Yep. With as high grip as it is at Hoosier and how the tracks are built now, I want to say that sometimes you can get them to where you're almost the same speed. Okay. And unfortunately for myself, my 8-scale program, my 4-wheel drive program, up until I got that 84, I was kind of just all over the place. And so I'd actually been falling off, and my 2-wheel drive was getting a little bit faster than I was on my 4-wheel. So I think I just got out to lunch with my setup, and I couldn't. It was nice because it's like a forced reset. You know what I mean? When a new kit comes out, it's completely different, and it just puts you right back if you're just stuck.
Really, I only race 10 scale off-road on carpet. So with the 74-2, we've been running the same setup for pretty close to the same setup for 2 to 3 years.
I mean, why change if it's not broken?
Well, the only thing we really changed is putting those wide 2-wheel fronts, stretch them over the 4-wheel rims. That just smoothens out the front end a ton. But you lose. It's one of those give and take things because you do go a tick slower with them, but the car is so much easier to drive. Oh, Zach dropped off. He'll come back. So you just got the 84. How was that build? Like, did you start with stock setup or?
I did. I started with stock setup, and their stock setup called for about a 17 millimeter ride height, which if you've ever been to Hoosier RC Hobbyplex is pretty much unacceptable in a 4-wheel drive car. So right away I had to lower, go from like the 2 eyelets on the rear shocks to the 0 to get the droop in an acceptable place to get down to like a 14 or 15 ride height. I messed with the sway bars a bit. I'll probably undo that. Just it didn't quite feel right. The thicker sway bars, it's much thicker. I think it's like a 1415 or a 1314.
Okay.
Whereas like it was like 1112 or 1213 on previous generations. So for me, I thought like, oh, maybe that's why it felt a little weird, but I think it had something to do with more tires than anything else. I was running on some subpar tires. I don't know why I ever thought it was a great idea to put not great tires on a brand new car, but
yeah, we've all been there though. I've done that a whole bunch, and there was a time before I had kids, right when I got married, to where I wanted to try every kit, and I was racing A-scale on-road, carpet on-road, and off-road, and I was getting a new kit of some kind every week, and I just slapped whatever I had on there, and it was just a terrible. It's not a great idea.
Yeah, I think my kit came in on Tuesday, and we club race on Thursdays, so I threw it together on like Tuesday night and Wednesday. And the last thing I was going to do was mount up tires. I'm like, I'm tired of working on RC stuff.
I totally understand.
On the track.
Who do you run for tires?
I run for J Concepts for tires.
Yeah, I do as well. And that's the nice thing about J Concepts. Their latest So a couple of years ago, they started doing pre-mounts again.
Yeah.
Their pre-mounts, if you don't have to mess with the foam, their pre-mounts are excellent.
Yeah.
Back in the day when they did it in like when J Concepts was just becoming a thing, and I think they did it till like 2013, 2014. Back in those days, those pre-mounts, they weren't staying on the wheel.
Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah, they're excellent now.
Yeah, I've actually gotten a little lazy, I guess. There was a long time at Hoosier where we were running like, the harder foams, thicker sidewalls, still gluing all the bands and everything like that. We've kind of abandoned that completely. For a little bit, it's a little nicer on the pocketbook, but also you do lose, kind of like how you guys were saying, it's easier to drive when you stretch those tires over the wheel. You lose a bit of feel and a bit of, I think, overall speed. And I think we started to realize that when you run like the hard foams and the hard tires, because those tires, as small and as like insignificant they may be on the variations and stuff like that, that is a change that it's just an overall numbness that it's hard to get back without going to the regular foams and stuff like that. So then the pre-mounts are the perfect answer.
Yep. So then I take it you met Zach at Hoosier when Zach was trying his hand in off-road?
At some point,
before that.
Yeah, before that.
Yeah,
for
we
sure.
met at Hoosier. I was there quite a few times for various off-road events. Angie and Eddie take good care of me. I think, and the locals kind of saw me around enough, and you get, I guess, being friends with owners helped out a lot, and kind of breaks down some of those walls for you. And I got to hang out with Nick and the gang at P&B. I think it was the first time outside of the Hoosier RC.
That was the first time out of Hoosier, yeah, that we all hung out together, and that was awesome. P&B is a great race.
Okay.
Well,
so it's
atmosphere's fun.
Yeah.
Is that one of those races where you go and you're sick for a week after because you're coughing up all the dust?
It's less sick and more just dog tired. It's because it's a 3-day, it's a probably like 5 or 6 day entry count stuffed into the 3 days. So
this year it was 1,000 entries.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. I forgot. And that's the thing. I've never really gone to. I've been to Silver State, but for the fifth scale.
Yeah.
I never went for the 8th scale, and it's like I see everybody at the end of the weekend, and nobody's happy. The winners aren't happy. Nobody's happy. So,
dude, it's just some long days.
Yeah. So it sounds like you race A scale as well. Do you have a current A scale program, or are you kind of putting that on the back burner for now? And
I do, yeah. You can see my collection behind me. I've got a little bit of everything. There's an E-truck hiding there, E-buggy, and then there's the 4-wheel drive and 2-wheel drive for 10 scale, and then my Nitro buggy is here. I was wrenching on it a little bit last week, and then the touring car is sitting right above it. That's why I went and got it a little earlier.
Nice.
Yeah, we've got the whole collection, the whole fleet.
Yeah, they're trying to talk me into doing on-road this winter. It's
a great time. You should do it.
The associated car, at least on asphalt, is very capable.
I've ran a lot of years with on-road. I haven't ran since like 2019. I was mainly a 12 scale guy. I did do a lot of touring car back in the early 2000s when it was foam tire. I haven't tried. I tried it when it went rubber tire on the gray carpet, and it was not good. And I'm like, I'll just run 12 scale. So, but, I've kind of, because in the summertime, I run the 5th scale, and my son races as well. That, when things go right, it's not a lot of money. This summer has been the summer of things going wrong.
Oof.
In one weekend, we've had 2 blown motors. I bent a brand new chassis the wrong way. So usually your kick-up plate bends up.
Yeah.
Somehow the one I had bent down and like ripped the screws out of my diff case. So there's like 300 and some bucks down the drain. That was a brand new chassis.
A single chassis is $300.
Yeah, but usually you get 2 years out of them.
That's fair, I suppose. Man,
You know, and that's one of those things. So my home track before it closed down used to be Thunder Road RC. I don't know if you ever made it up there while it was open.
I've heard about it though.
So on their outdoor AstroTurf track, we were racing e-buggies. Like there was Schumacher turf tire long before J Concepts came out with an AstroTurf tire. Schumacher made A-scale turf tires. So we're running Schumacher. It was the most ridiculous thing. We had Truggy motors in our cars, and we fed those things so much boost and timing. They came off at ridiculously high temperatures. We had to use silver solder to keep everything soldered because you kept feeding it like power, and it kept taking it.
That's awesome.
One of their classes was a fifth scale spec class. So you took the truck out of the box, you could change the servo and the fluid and put your radio in it, and that's all you could do. And that's how I got into fifth scale. And then I started talking to the mod guys, and I started doing this and that. And then Thunder Road closed, and there's a bunch of us with fifth scales. And it's like, hey, do you guys want to run on dirt and just open the rules? And everybody's like, yeah. So, you know, I've been doing that this is my 3rd year running it.
Where do you run at primarily?
Sean and Seth Van Dalen's track, Full Throttle Raceway.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yep. And then we go down to, like, yesterday we did a cash race down in Blooming Prairie. Sorry, you're not from Minnesota. It's down by kind of down in the Rochester area by the Mayo Clinic. Like, it's 20 minutes from the Mayo Clinic. Think of it like that.
Okay.
But we're going to Cheese City Extreme in Monroe, Wisconsin the first week of August. They have a giant fifth scale race there. I actually, right before this, I started taking the center diffs out of the truck, and I'm just going to go through each, the front and rear clips and get everything fresh again. That's another nice thing about fifth scale. So as you know, with A scale, after a race weekend, you want to do all the diffs, if not the center diff, and you want to put in fresh shock fluid.
Yeah.
Because chances are you change the shock fluid to whatever temperature it was, and the next track you're going to is going to be different. You have different ideas. With these fifth scales, you go through them once a summer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. and because, well, it's funny. My first year in Vegas, the mod guys were nice enough to let me pit with them. I wasn't on the team. Matt Olson didn't know me from anything. I'm just some dude from Minnesota. And he's like, hey, come over, pit with us. It's like, oh, okay. And it was the end of the day qualifying, and I started taking out my center diff, and cameraman Chris looks at me funny. He's like, what are you doing? I'm like, well, I'm going through my diffs for, the mains. He goes, do you think this is F and A scale? I said, he goes, when did you do them last? I said, right before I came here. And this was in May. He goes, you're good until July. It's like, really? Okay. And then I asked a couple other people to confirm, and they're like, yeah, we don't do that type of thing. But, it's a little different. A 4-ounce bottle of shock oil is good enough to fill 4 shocks, and that's it.
Okay.
So
dude, I've had the same bottles of shock oil for 7 years.
When I was running exclusively 10th and A scale, it was basically the same. I think the only thing I ever had to replace was like my Team Associated 30 weight might have lasted 2 years for a bottle of that, and like maybe one of my 7K diff fluid, I had to replace that once every 2 years. But besides that, you're right, a bottle of shock oil, in the range lasted for forever.
Yeah.
Well, especially
Those-
the shocks now. I mean, it's almost like I waste as much building them as I do to actually get in there.
Oh, with touring car, absolutely. Was it
Yeah.
3 tops?
The shocks are like, I
They're
don't
teeny.
know, not even an inch big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
That was a surprise for me as an off-road guy, 8-scale guy. I put these shocks together. I'm like, what are these shocks for ants? I couldn't.
yeah.
This isn't doing anything, but it worked.
So you put together the TC8. I do have a question. Are they using the same pistons as the off-road shocks?
No,
Okay.
I
Because
don't believe so because I don't think they're 13 mil. Well, they'd be
off-road
the
shocks are 13 mil.
yeah. I don't think the on-road is.
Okay.
I could
They
be
look
wrong.
smaller.
They felt smaller. They seemed smaller.
Well, like the X-ray shocks are super short but super fat. So
Yeah, these are short. They're definitely. I don't know. I just don't think they're quite the same diameter as my 12 or as my 10 scale stuff.
I don't think
I'll
so.
check that. Yeah.
yeah, no, that makes
Probably
sense.
12s.
Yeah.
Well, you check it if you put the PSS in. You can check. You really see that.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. I got to get one. I got to find the time and the money. After August, that's my last unpaid event I'm going to for the year that I have planned. So after that, I got to get my kid and I new wheelers. Let's face it, I thought it was coming last Tuesday. Tomorrow, I'm guessing Team Associated's going to drop that new 2-wheel.
You think so?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's way too early. I think they should
Yeah.
wait.
I don't know.
I think it's close enough to Worlds.
I don't think it is.
I think it's going to be a pre-order scenario, and we'll start getting them around mid to late August. And Worlds is the first week of September.
Is it? I thought it was later.
Yeah.
Maybe later. We got Roach checking in, John Mans. We got Rosine from Twitch. I don't think Rosine is spam. That's a funny thing. Everything from Twitch is always spam. Roach said AE is about to do something real goofy. Oh no.
Well, Nick, you can get another drift car. You didn't get one of those yet.
I hope
I
it's
know Justin wants you to get one.
I will not be getting a drift car, unfortunately. I think that's something that I don't really have a lot of interest for. I'm a racing guy, man. Like the drift stuff, it looks cool. Scale stuff, it looks great. I love looking at it, but I don't know. I don't have any more money. I've got all this stuff to worry about.
Yeah.
I'm tapped out.
Exactly. That's another thing. So do you think so? Associated's been kind of dipping their toe in the oval game a little bit with that mid-motor street stock car.
Yeah.
Do you think they're going to go full in? Because oval, whether you like it or not, is flipping huge right now.
Dirt oval.
Especially in the dirt oval, you're correct. Especially in the Midwest.
I mean, I don't race any oval. That's one thing that's always kind of been on the list. I'd love to because we've got
You're
a
not
great.
old enough.
That's fair. I've never done it. I've held a few. I've raced a few like guys that'll let me borrow a controller and stuff like that, but I've never been in a timed race or anything like that. I could see them doing. I mean, they got out of the on-road game like 7 or 8 years ago. It was. They're back in. They've been releasing all these, vintage stuff that people have been asking for a long time. I think if there's enough want for it, I think AE's at the point where they're ready to deliver. They've been putting out, I think, more new stuff than I've ever I haven't been following them for decades or anything like that, but there's been a market increase in pace, right? Like the B7 came out, huge change from the B6 stuff.
Yes.
The 84 came out, huge change from the 74 stuff. And then the TC8, I've never owned a TC7, but I've looked at the manual. It's all different. They're making new stuff.
The TC7 was, Cameraman Chris is guessing it's a B2 repop. because that's what people have been begging for is a B2 repop. Here's the thing. So I've been in this game since the late 80s, and I've had everything, you know. Back in the days, and especially before TLR and Associated were owned by other companies, a kit would come out 3 or 4 every 2, 3, 4, more like 3, 4 years, and you were excited to get a new kit. It didn't seem like, oh crap, didn't that one just come out? I have to buy new cars again. When a new car came out, it's like you couldn't get to the hobby shop fast enough. You couldn't call Tower Hobbies or Stormer Hobbies fast enough, because the second that RC car action came to your mailbox, which came faster than what you'd get at the grocery store, you would see the ad for the new car and information for pre-order, whatever was right there. You don't have that anymore. So it's almost more of a burden with the amount everybody releases new stuff.
I feel like Associated's still about there.
I think AE is on a pretty decent cadence. I mean, the 74-2 came out. That car lasted a long time. Lasted a while, but I mean, you know, it was performing well. They obviously made some mid-run changes, and they've introduced option parts to keep up. Same with the 6.4. I want to say the 6.4 was out for maybe a year and a half, almost 2. It feels like they hover around the 18-month mark at least. And to be honest with you, I've this is gonna sound bad, but this is my second B7. I run them every week, and sometimes it's cheaper to just buy a new kit than it is to like replace everything I feel like needs replaced.
Sure. I understand. Well, when we had a track where we ran every week, well, we still do. There's Friday night racing at a track called MMR. I just can't make Friday nights anymore.
Yeah, it can be tough.
But well, I used to work till 2:30 in the afternoon. It used to be easy. Now I work till 4:30. Race or doors open at 5. It's just too much. There's no time to decompress. Roach says AE probably won't do a B2 or a B3 because it isn't nostalgic enough. Believe it or not, the nostalgia is there for the B2. It's not there for the B3, but it is there for the B2 because that was probably the shortest run car that Team Associated's had.
It was pretty popular at the old school RC event.
Oh, yeah.
There were lots of B2s and B3s, especially with Francis being there and everything like that. There was a ton of interest in those cars.
Yeah, Ledger was running a team car, but I believe he was part of the design team he was one of the first people with the B2. Yeah, I think they're gonna come out with they got to keep the 7 name for a while. You would think.
I would have thought the same thing. I would have thought for sure there'd be a 0.1 or 2. But I also would kind of love it if they were both the same generation of Bucky, because like I don't know when they got out of sync. I guess when the 74 came out, when they were still on like the 6.1 or whatever.
Yeah. Yep.
So I think it'd be easier for everybody because you know I spend a lot of time up at Hoosier. I have in the past. I am oftentimes like their go-to AE guy when people have questions. Yep. So Angie, who rocks, if you've never been in there, go say hi. You know, if you go in there as a new person asking like, well, why is this one a 7? Is the 84 newer? And you're like, well, no, it's the 4 on the end is the 4-wheel drive. The 84 is it's the 8th generation, or that's, you know, that model line of whatever. And then they're like, so what's the B7? Well, it's the 2-wheel drive. It's like, well, so I think it'd be a little easier for people to understand. I think if they were both B8 and 84, but yeah, it would be weird for them to jump right into a B8. I think I'd be surprised if there was enough changed on it for it to not really be like a mid, like a 0.1. Because the 7 was a big change. A lot of parts changed.
Right.
I'd be really surprised if there was enough of a difference to move it up another generation level.
Well, I'm sure you hear plenty, and you know about the truck that's going to be coming sometime soon. Do you run much stadium truck?
I had one when the T6 2 was out.
Okay.
And the only problem, I really enjoyed running it. They're super fun. They make silly amounts of grip. You can do crazy whips with them because with all the rotating and mass being 10 scale and everything, there just wasn't local interest. I think we had a class for a while and it died out, and then I'm like, I don't want to just have a car built and ready that I don't ever run, so I did end up selling it. But
so I just last winter I bought a truck on a whim because I was the same. I was a T62 guy, and then it's same thing kind of died off around here. And then I noticed trucks started coming back a little bit more and more and more. And then Rona on the team page was selling Mayfield's truck from Masters of Dirt. Was it 23? Something like that.
I saw that. Yeah.
And it's like, oh, I need it. I mean, hold on. I have the body right here for it.
Oh, so you just need the truck.
No, I have the truck.
You're the one who ended up buying it. That's awesome.
I bought the truck and I wouldn't dare put a Mayfield body on my vehicle. That would be blasphemous.
Well, I thought maybe you're putting it on the
Hilarious.
shelf or something. If you're putting it on the shelf, that's absolutely valid.
Yeah. But I'm running the truck, and
okay.
I'm running the truck. I took off there's the rear ball stud plate. It had Mayfield's name etched in it, and
that's cool.
That was from his buggy from the 2023 Worlds in Arizona.
Yep.
All the guys who ran Associated had that or whatever. So I took that off as well, and I have that set aside.
That thing's awesome.
Yeah. But it has the buggy-ish shock set up on it, and I run it on carpet, and it is so much. And I think it's all in the shocks. I don't remember the T6.2 ever handling so well. But there is a truck coming. When I don't know. There's been rumors that there's a lot from that truck that's going to be going into the buggy, or they developed it in the truck and it's going to be in the buggy.
Okay.
I don't know which order. It depends on the order which they release it.
Yeah, I mean, I know in the most sort of like the latest life cycle of the truck, when a lot of the team guys.
Oh,
did I drop out?
Yeah, just for a second. Anyways,
all right. When a lot of the team guys would, when a lot of the team guys would come out to Clash, they were running a lot of buggy parts in their trucks. So
yes.
I am interested to see really how different this stuff will be. Because it almost seems like they're trying to get it to be as close to a buggy as they can for the good handling and everything like that, and then just throw the long arms or whatever they have to make it fit the truck dimensions.
Do you think it's going to be a 10 scale bruggy?
I think anything's possible.
Man, this, to be fair, the stadium truck doesn't look like anything. What they were really originally designed for, like the 10T body and the JRXT body, at certain monster truck shows and whatnot, they would have a tough trucks race, and it was kind of more in that line. It wasn't like short course trucks always look like. I have
like a trophy truck.
Yeah, trophy trucks. Yeah.
I have the first short course right here. We built this in the 90s, my buddy and I.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and the short courses have always been short courses. So, but I still like the stadium truck body, and I would kind of hope they keep that in line.
Yeah, to that end, I think a lot of the modern buggies don't really look like anything anymore. I know the old 2-wheel drive stuff looked like off-road buggy vehicles.
They did.
Like, sand dune stuff like that. But now, with the cab forward stuff, they just look a little alien, but they work.
Yeah, they work. So for a while, I had an early 80s Sandrail with the Volkswagen drivetrain in it way back in the day, and it looked just like an RC10. It really did. It was actually pretty cool.
Yeah, if you put a body on it, yeah. My dad had one of those
Yep,
for
mine
a
had a
long
body.
time.
Yep.
Oh, yours did? Okay. He built his, but it was it was like the skeleton of a
Yep.
body.
Yeah. So mine, I actually years later I met the guy who built it, and he built the tube chassis, but the body was a manufactured thing.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. And the one I had, I didn't know it was actually raced at one point.
That's cool.
So, yeah. But anyways, so Nick, you're at the point where you are at now. You're winning races. You're the fast, regional team associated guy.
I don't know if I'd go that far, but yeah, I do all right.
Though, so I don't believe I interviewed you before for Mod Live Media, but I remember your name because Zach's like, "Hey, do you want to have Nick Reppin on?" And I'm like, "Oh, I know that name." So if I remember the name, you're doing pretty damn well at some of those Hoosier races.
Yeah, I usually find myself in like B mains and stuff like that. I always tend to struggle to make like those really packed aim. I mean, the talent that shows up to these national races at Hoosier nowadays are just nuts.
Yep.
And kudos to those guys. Like it's all I can do to hold on to my stuff on a lot of those days. I find that I do the best in like maybe a little bit more niche classes. Maybe there's a little bit less competition. Sure. I just really I'm there to have fun, man. I love this stuff. I wish I were a little faster. I think it would take for sure more practice and more wrenching and stuff like that. I do like we club race every week, but that's it. I go up, I practice a few packs, we race. I'd definitely love to be up there more if I had the time and definitely do a bit more with it.
So are you married and have children, or?
I am married, no kids yet.
Okay.
Just working,
I hear you.
A couple other hobbies, I guess. I don't, that's a bad excuse. I'm like, oh no, I want to go golf this weekend instead of doing some RC stuff. But
so like both Zach and I do jiu-jitsu. I do it a bit more than Zach.
Mm-hmm.
But that's right now, that's like equal with RC to me.
That's crazy.
It is. Well, I really do. I'm down to 4 days a week with jiu-jitsu, and I feel like a bum. I really feel like a bum.
That's a job. That's a full-time job.
Well, so
dude, those are 4 crazy workouts a week.
I believe it. I've never done it, but I believe every bit.
Well, if you were to start jiu-jitsu, Nick, what that would do to your RC game, it rewires you. So like you don't get those. I don't know about you, but at larger events, I used to get massive nerves on the driver's stand.
That definitely happens for sure.
And I start jiu-jitsu, you have guys trying to choke you unconscious every day. That gets rid of your nerves entirely. Because you've been in a way worse position, a way more nerve-wracking position than standing on a driver's stand.
I get nervous when, especially when I'm up with the good guys for some reason. I get sorted in with them when it's a random sort, and I'm like, I'm a beat low. Like when I'm up there with like Sam Isaacs and Kevin Hebert and Mike G, I've got no business being in their heat. Maybe in the back if I'm having a good day. But it's just I
get it.
I get nervous because I don't want to ruin their race because I know, and then that makes my car not good.
Yeah,
I don't drive well.
Well, and then you get out of when they're lapping you, and you get out of the way, and then you get marbles on your tires, and then your car's junk, and then you're getting lapped again, and then that happens over and over and over.
Especially mine because it's about a rhythm.
Yep.
Yeah. I think you guys have keyed into a feeling that I think a lot of people have, not just about getting on the driver's stand or having a big race or anything like that. I think we struggle a lot in our local club program with guys not wanting to maybe step up to like a higher stock class or to mod or something like that because they feel like they'll be in the way or they feel like they'll be causing problems. And the reality is, you know, at the end of the day, anybody can cause problems. I wreck my friends, like when we run mod, we wreck each other. Sometimes it happens. Like you throw your car out there, anything could happen. But you know, besides, like, I don't think I'll be picking up jiu-jitsu, but I would tell anybody who's struggling with any nerves on the stand, you know, just throw it out there, especially because we tell all the guys with us, like, you know, if as long as you're not being erratic and you're just actually giving it your best shot and everything, like, what can we be mad at you for that you're not, you know, like it is what it is. We'll do our best. At the end of the day, it's the guy passing you. It's their job to do it safely. For the most part, there is a little bit of trust and a little bit of, you know, working together that has to be done, but
that's a different thing than a main national level event.
But
I mean, I think it's like the same
You're
vibe,
right. Yeah.
You know.
Oh yeah, no, you're 100%. Yeah, I think you're right, and I would agree with that. And I mean, we had lots of driving level diversity at this race, and everyone was good.
Yeah,
but there's just different, like, you know, some people were like 2-3 laps down, and some people were like, you know, a couple tenths off, and it's just like, you know,
I'll tell you,
it is.
I'll tell you, like, one thing I always look at when, like, if I sneak it, like kind of what you're saying, like at Clash or INS or something like that, if I sneak into an A sort in qualifying, like I had a good Q1 after a resort, I sneak into an A sort. Something like that. I always tell myself, I'm like, look, if I look at my time and what they did and like what the top guy did, let's say we're only a lap apart or we're only like 18 seconds apart. That means if I do another run at similar pace, they're only lapping me one time. So however many other people are in the race and maybe not even everybody's going to lap you or anything like that. If you put in another decent run, if you just drive the same way you have before, you don't have a lot of getting out of the way to do. I think what happens is it's like a snowball effect. If you've ever done that, I've done it myself.
Yes.
It's like you get out of the way for somebody or you make them and then you make a mistake because your tires got dirty. And then it's like, now you're getting out of the way for the guy who was behind him. And then it's just like, well, now you're pulling over for everybody.
Yeah, that is tough. So where I am in carpet off-road, so Kyle Holmberg puts me a lap and a half down every race, like on carpet off-road. If not, a little more if I have a bad run.
He's fast.
He is. But there's 7 other guys that compete with him. But I'm in this middle spot. So, and again, I bump into that. And let's say there's 7 other guys that are just as fast as him. I would rather be in that B heat. Because when you're doing 12-second laps and you're moving over every other corner to let the fast guy go, it's a little, he froze again. There he is.
All right.
So, yeah, Roach makes a good point. He says communication on the driver's stand.
I can't do it.
I can if people paint their damn cars different colors. Like Nick, if you painted your car a single color, but it's gray, it's not white.
There were no white cars at that race.
Really?
There were no white cars. You know what's crazy?
3 gray cars.
3 gray cars, very similar to that. I even thought to myself, because I have a couple different cans over there. I'm like, what do I think I'll be able to see, and what do I think? Because the gray actually worked out pretty well with the coloring and everything like that.
Sure.
But I'm like, I have my little factory white that I do sometimes because I don't know if I have a practice body. No, I usually do my 10 scale off-road practice bodies with white.
Yeah.
But everybody does. So I'm like, okay, I'll do gray. And then I showed up, and his buddy Phil had a gray car, and then one of the other locals had a gray car. And I'm like, dang it, man. I guess I'm doing like pink or something next time. I don't know.
There were 4 orange cars.
Oh, yeah, there's always orange. Always.
Mine was the only white and orange car.
Yeah.
And also,
but my point is behind that is I would love to communicate with people on the driver's stand, but it's like I'm going to be 43 in like a week. I cannot tell who the hell you are by your decals.
Yeah.
You know, I really can't. I run unique colors, so everybody knows my colors, except for fifth scale. I'm running the Mod Everlast body, but for that race in August, I'm painting up a cageless Lexan body. It cuts 3.5 pounds off the top, but I don't think it'll last long.
That's like those guys that run the Lexan wings in 8 scale. Like we've got these plastic ones that I normally run, and I'm sure it's faster. I'm sure there's a
So
weight
much
savings.
faster.
But man, I couldn't do it. I wreck a bit, like not a ton, but I wreck.
Absolutely.
And I'm not one of those guys who goes a 10-minute main or a 20-minute main without a wreck, and I just feel like I'd rip this darn wing off.
I'm down to one not so bad wreck in a 10-minute main.
Yeah.
You know, I'm at like 95% consistency. I'm going to give it a try, but also I'm going to bring the Mod Everlast body. I'm curious on how many cans of paint that is going to take. Because that is...
I go 3.
It sounds like you need an airbrush so you can just keep pouring it into a hopper or something.
I had one. I will never do that again. I always...
Bracket.
For the longest time, I always... Every like 5 years since I was a teenager until I was in my 30s, every 5 years, I can airbrush a body. I give it a try. I fail, put it away, keep on doing that. And then last time was the last time. I bought everything correctly. I did everything right. And I still failed so miserably. And the bodies got worse.
What do you think is going wrong there? Like, what do you think? When they go wrong, what happens?
When they go wrong,
Yeah.
I'm really bad with the masking, and I'm really bad with. I have zero artistic ability. None.
You have to be really patient. You
Yes.
gotta, when you lay out the body, you gotta do it really well, and then
Yes.
you have to, you can't just pour straight paint in there. You gotta mix it, and then if your ratio's off a little bit, then you gotta change on how it sprays, and you gotta get the right paint. And if you're doing different colors, it's different. Dude, it's so complicated.
It is, but I simplified it in my mind incorrectly and just failed horribly every time. My daughter is a wonderful artist, but I cannot get her to do anything for me.
That's tough, man. That would be awesome if you had a painter in the house.
Oh, it would be, but
How much money would you save, Nick?
I like a shameless plug. I don't know if I've mentioned it in my Facebook and stuff before. Rocket Power Designs. It's my buddy Josh, who people have met at the track. He does all my bodies. So luckily I don't know that pain, and he's like, we've known each other for the better part of, I'd say, 15 years now. So he gives me a great deal on them. I usually just buy him a bottle of whiskey or something like that, and it's good to go. So, and he does a great job. So I luckily don't have any pain with that. And then, of course, as you can see with the 2 new cars that I have, because AE decided to bum rush my wallet in like the span of a month. So I don't have paint for those guys just yet.
Exactly.
Dude, touring car body, carpet.
They're disposable.
Yeah, it's a consumable.
I don't know if I'll be putting like a painted body, because I ran pretty great consistency on the asphalt stuff, but I don't know if I'll probably just keep doing something like this for carpet.
Yeah. Yeah, Roach thinks it's going to take 7 cans to do the fifth scale body.
I don't doubt it.
Find Roach's sister's doing the flower paint job, Zach. Now he needs the flower pinions.
I told him we have it. I could do it for him. He doesn't want to pay for it. He's busy. He's busy buying tires.
Yeah. So
yeah.
So anyway, my daughter, she's really into school. Like, she woke up this morning, and I haven't seen this kid this excited ever. She's 16, and she passed an AP chemistry final. Like, school was over a month ago. They didn't get it graded until, she didn't get the grade till this morning, and she passed, and she was so excited. I'm like, I've never seen that kind of excitement out of the kid. It's like, holy crap. So she doesn't have like that much time to do things for me.
Yeah, I took AP Chem in high school, and I remember, I believe I barely scraped by on that final test. So if she passed,
Yeah.
kudos, because that was tough, man.
So I think you're graded 1 through 5, 5 being
Yeah.
the best. She got a 3.
Oh, same. I scraped by, but I was happy.
Yeah.
Dust my hands with it.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
awesome. That's awesome.
Well, and she can take more of an advanced chemistry in college or something like that.
Yeah, if that's what she wants to get into, I think it opens a fair few doors, gets you out of a couple costly intro classes to college. So if she's already
Yeah.
thinking about that stuff, she's got a good head on her shoulders.
Well, ever since she's a little girl, she wanted to be a veterinarian, and I'm like,
Oh,
you
geez.
know, what little
I could
kids,
never.
I couldn't either. Little kids say those things, but she's stuck to her guns. She's 16, and she's still, yeah.
That's a cool thing when you know what you want to do that young.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
right.
Well, what's terrible story, but she was part of it. We had to put our dog down recently, and we had a home service come in, and she sat and watched, and you could tell she was studying in her head.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm
No.
I'm a frickin' mess, and she's just watching like everything going on and what they have to do, and anyways.
no for me.
Yeah, I was the most remedial student there was, because I was going to the RC track constantly.
I wish.
Oh, Nick, did you get to watch any of the 8-scale nationals?
I did, yeah. I would
Yeah.
love to go to Thornhill. That's a like bucket list track. It was beautiful.
Obviously, I'm not racing in the Worlds next year, but I am going to go and do content.
Well, have fun, and I'll be watching.
Yeah. And if Mod gets the bid, I will pay to put myself to work for that one. If Matt will have me.
It's like, I just
I'll-
want to be there.
Yeah, I do.
I want to
Well-
be there too.
Oh, that's
So-
awesome. Take me with you.
You can come. I need. No,
Let's go.
I can't
Roach.
pay you, but you can come with.
Roach is saying that AP classes he is in, he didn't do well in literary. Roach is literally the best script writer in RC. Do you watch any of Roach's videos, Nick?
I've seen a few. Yeah, it's always fun. I like turning them on when I'm working on RC stuff.
Yeah, me too.
I don't think I've seen them all. I've definitely seen them like when he posts on on Facebook,
Yeah.
and like if I'm scrolling at the right time, I hit them. But I am subscribed.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm subscribed to a lot, and I'm subscribed to a lot of dead channels as well. It sucks when RC YouTubers go away, but so as you continue, so are you going to keep trying to focus on everything Team Associated makes and keep going in that in general, or are you going to kind of set one aside and focus? Do you run? No, another question is like in the wintertime, do you have a place where you can run A scale as well?
Unfortunately, no. In the wintertime, we do get lucky. So when it gets a little cool, like in the fall, we get to run
Yep.
Apocalypse at Hoosier. So they run 8-scale. They have an 8-scale Apocalypse and a 10-scale Apocalypse, which is just like a big trophy race they run. Where
Cool.
and it is cool. Eddie does a great job. He does like some crazy track, something that's like
Mhm.
less. It's a little less race and a little bit more like obstacle course, but it's cool. Like you're still racing. You're still consistent. But he does some pretty cool like huge jumps, big sweepers, bowl turns, all sorts of stuff. So, but I don't have anywhere I can run 8-scale. Like, man, if it were up to me, my favorite stuff to run, I'd be running like 8-scale Nitro and Mod Touring Car. That's like the most fun I have running RC whenever I get to run them.
Yeah, I understand. If I had in Minnesota, we have a lot of A scale tracks, but if I had one I ran at, like, it's been years since I've done it, but I used to race all winter long. I used to do the Techno series at the Omaha Hobbyplex. Hobbytown
Okay.
Hobbyplex. And it's when you know what to expect, it makes A scale so much more fun. To where you can put your car down on the track, you know it's going to work. Slight variations in temperatures. What sucks is like we went there when it was like sub-0 degrees and you touched a tube and your rims would shatter.
Oh,
That is not, yeah.
yeah. I want to say, like, since I'm so new to the like new and relatively speaking, like, because a lot of the guys I race with, they've all been racing for like 10, 15 years. So I've only been doing it for 5. Like, I want to say I don't have a lot of like those durability issues that you hear about a lot. You know, I feel like I hear from guys like when AE would come out with the carbon arms for like the 74 and stuff like that. I remember people warning me all the time, like, be careful if it's cold, you'll shatter them. I never really found that to be the case. Same with like wheels. Like, you know, the materials are getting a lot better. Durability is really high. I think it's a great time to be running.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely.
We're real lucky to be running when we are and running the stuff we get to run.
Old school stuff does not always remain true. That's true. But so this was fairly, I want to say it's 2017. We pretty much had modern wheels on our car. It was just that cold.
Oh, I don't doubt it. Yeah.
But, you know, I've been running A scale off-road since 2007. This is the first year I really haven't done it. I've been focusing on 5th scale. And 5th scale is a lot like running A scale way back then. If you try to go full out for the main, you're going to break. You need to drive at like 85%. It's a weird thing. You need to save your car.
Really? You think you need to take like that? You have to take a lot off of it to keep the car together, you think?
Well, maybe not 85. You cannot do 100%.
Yeah.
You'll burn
100%. I always break my shit at 100%. Like in practice, I go 100%, and in the race, I back it down. I find my limit in practice, and then in the race, I do like 95.
Sure. But let's say A scale off-road. Let's say an electric buggy. You can drop. You might dump it in modern times, but you can run an A scale electric buggy at 100% for the entire 10 minutes, and you will not break the car. Usually, you know, it's got a really good durability. Like Nick was saying, the durability on modern A scales are very high. Yeah, Jason saying because you're butter smooth.
Yeah, Jason's one of our local guys at Hoosier. He's fantastic. They have a group. I'll do another plug. They've called themselves, and I'm happy to be included in this, the Z Main Gang. So instead of like the A Main or whatever, they're the Z Main Gang. If you ever hear anybody talking about that, it's a good group of guys. We get a good club scene going at Hoosier RC.
That is, I mean, you guys, I'm happy that you guys have that type of facility. The first time I was there was in January, and I plan on being there for the Clash in January again. I don't think he's going to do the Vintage Clash again next year. That's a once every 3 to 5 year race, in my opinion. He might.
They've talked it, like, I think they want to loop some vintage racing, maybe in a bit more, like maybe do a vintage series. I know there's been rumblings of that. I think a lot of people would really enjoy. But there was so much work, and especially like, you know, like Dunbar, like Brian Dunbar, you know, being so instrumental in orchestrating all that. He did so much planning and was like promoting it all over the place. So like, it was really, being there was like awesome, like super sad, super cool. Like it'd be hard for them to recreate something like that for sure.
Right. I mean,
it was so cool.
They got Jay Halsey out of retirement, which is,
yeah, man. There were a lot of people I'd never heard of there, but there was just so many dudes that I had never met before. Myself and Justin Green, we got to help Matt Francis like dial in his ESC. We were fixing a few of the other guys' cars. So Like I remember when Jimmy Babcock like ripped the front end of his, I think he was running a B2, maybe a B3, I don't remember. He ripped the front end of it off, and I had to fix that one because he was calling races. So
That's fine. The only difference between a B2 and a B3, by the way, are some rear end parts.
yeah, I mean, I wasn't running then. I couldn't tell you which one it was. I know Drew Boyd, you guys are probably familiar with. He just handed me some parts. He's like, "Go make it work." I'm like, "Absolutely, man. I'll do whatever you need." Because his hands were full. He was like the MC for the whole weekend.
I had to hand Drew my car to put ball cups on the damn thing because I was in the mod booth.
Yep.
And the ball cups still failed.
I'll tell you, I think it was like kind of a that's kind of why I brought it up. I think that was kind of a like realization a lot of people had because they're running all these vintage cars. And some of them were re-releases too. And even then, like they were still popping off, like because the geometries are different, the ball cups are different, like stuff was just, I remember like I'd go out and help Marshall because I didn't run that event, any of the vintage races. I just ran like the modern stuff because that's all I got.
There's the modern classes.
Yeah, I ran the modern stuff, and which was super fun just to be around all those guys. But I like, the modern races, I don't think anybody was popping ball cups. I think like 5-6 cars a race in like certain heats for the vintage stuff for popping ball cups and just break it, which sucks, but that's the reality of it. And Hoosier crazy high grip, like it was bound to happen too.
I think everything was torquing under grip, and that was part of the reason. And you're right, those cars are not built for those scenarios. The Vegas track is going to be more quote unquote vintage style, but dude, I'll tell you this. I started racing in 1988, so when I got to interview like Jay Halsey, I'm like, and Kurt Hustings, I'm like, I don't look up to anybody anymore. I'm a grown ass man with bills, but I remember looking up to those guys when I was like 6, 7, 8 years old. And I'm like, oh my God, keep it together, keep it together.
You're fanboying.
I was trying not to. And then when I was interviewing Alan Horn, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember when you went to Twin City Hobby and Raceway and we went to the bowling alley that my wife worked at and we all drank for free. And he's kind of like, stop that story right there. He's like, that could be. I kind of remember that. It's like, oh, you remember it. But that was pretty funny. Oh, man.
I think what was so cool about that event. Did that drop again? Am I good?
No, you didn't drop again. You're good.
All right. I think what was super cool about that event is like just how approachable all those guys were. Like they were there like just to have a really good time. I know that they were talking to like all the interviewers and there was tons of content like between like all the different brands that were there being made, and they were just open to all of it. I remember just seeing all those guys like talking, they'd talk to anybody, all these kids that were there, which I have a sneaking suspicion that some of the dads were encouraging their kids to go ask for the signatures on the pages. But I mean, it was super cool.
I mean, they talked to me and they don't know who I am. And I thought that was really cool. I'm just some dude. Like, you're inclined to talk to a kid when he comes up to you.
Sure.
As an adult, like, be nice to other people's kids. But they were cool with me. And, like, Matt Francis, Eustace was super cool. I think he was probably the coolest guy to talk to. Just very interesting guy to me.
Oh, we talked to Eustace. So we all went to dinner at the same place on main day, but the mod crew we got there late because we were late everywhere. And
you guys were just getting in when I was leaving.
We sat on the outside area and Eustace sat and talked to us for probably 30 minutes, just holding court. It was so cool.
That's awesome.
It was pretty cool. I'm surprised Mac and Cheese wasn't there with some kind of vintage concoction.
Why does that name sound familiar?
He was running the mid-motor Bandit
and
the Durango truck at the regular Clash.
Yes. that was a riot.
He was kicking ass with that bandit.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, was it? It was independent, but independent still actually getting pretty fast. He
Didn't
made
he
it up.
pick me?
He was in the B.
Yeah.
He was in the B. I think he was fighting for a spot in the A. I don't think he made it, but I'm like, oh my God. And I have a buddy here at home that he owns Oval Track up here, but he loves Traxxas stuff. And he's like, dude, get everything and how he built it, how that type of thing. He's like, I want to build one, and he's like fanboying out over, a bandit project. I'm like, that was pretty, like I said, I'm surprised he wasn't there with some kind of weird concoction.
Yeah, I think the only downside, like the single downside to that race, was just how kind of close it was to Clash. And for a lot of guys that wanted to go, like Midwest, obviously, like where we are, we're lucky, like being around the Louisville and like Southern Indiana area. It's within driving distance from like dudes we get from like Hoosier. We get guys from Florida all the way up to like Wisconsin, Minnesota, and it's doable. They can drive down in a day, spend a hotel night. But doing that a couple times in the work schedule in a few months is tough. It's definitely tough.
I flew down for the Clash and drove down for the Vintage Clash, and it was 11 hours.
I mean, it's a long time, but it's doable. Like
it is. That's my maximum. That's my absolute maximum. Chris is saying, yeah, lucky. Yeah.
6 for me. I drove 7 to Island.
I was gonna say, I thought you said 6, Zach, and I'm like, Zach, you're just across the river. Don't say 6 hours.
Yeah.
I know you're not anywhere. You're not far.
It's no. It's 45 minutes for me.
Yeah.
For Hoosier.
What's weird is I get road like I love podcasts. I did a couple podcasts. This is the only one I'm doing right now. But if I listen to podcasts, I fall asleep behind the wheel an hour into it. I have to listen to music. It's frustrating.
Oh.
So anyways, it's starting to get a little late here. Nick, what are your, we've kind of discussed it, but what are your plans going forward? What are your goals you're setting for yourself?
Well, for starters, we're in the middle of our point series at Hoosier RC Hobbyplex for the summer for 10 scale. So I'm running mod 2-wheel drive and 13.5 wheeler. We just couldn't quite get the turnout for mod wheeler. Otherwise, like I'm a mod guy. I love the idea of not really playing the motor game. I love going like actually having to use your trigger instead of just it being like a binary on and off switch type deal. So the current focus is to, dial in the new 84. My 2-wheel drive has been fantastic. There's been multiple races where I'm just like a couple seconds off the guy ahead of me. So right now I'm like solidly in third. I would love to knock, I believe like Talon Henley. I believe he's killing us in 4-wheel drive.
He's got a lot up, I'm sure.
Yeah. And he's, but Lucas, I think might have him in 2-wheel drive. So local fast guy, Lucas Smith, really keeps Talon honest and is racing him like every weekend or every week. So if Talon's not careful, he might fall down to second. We'll see.
That's awesome. Oh, Billy Kelly.
Mayfield's clone.
Yeah. Billy Kelly says 13 hours to Mobile, Alabama. Billy goes
everywhere.
I don't know if you're friends with Billy Kelly, Nick.
I've never met.
The guy
on the Queen City page.
Okay.
He posts. I don't understand.
He'll come up to Minnesota and he'll go down to Mobile, Alabama, and he'll look at his map and say, I feel like racing either my touring car or I feel like racing my 2-wheel buggy. Who has a race this weekend? And he just drives and puts a jillion miles on his car. But it's awesome. Like he comes to Minnesota 2 or 3 times a winter.
That guy's a road warrior.
Yeah. It's like, man, I
That's
wish.
respect.
Sometimes I wish I could do it, but then other times it's like, man, my own bed is so nice.
My biggest thing is I will go anywhere that I can get somebody to go with me.
Yeah,
It is if he's doing that by himself, that's tough.
He
like
is
those
doing it by
drives, like, you know, putting yourself up in a hotel or whatever it is that you're doing, that's tough.
So I used to smoke cigarettes. I quit long time ago.
Congratulations.
Yeah, I had to. You know, you have kids, you got to stop that bullshit.
Yeah.
But you know, when I was a teenager, early 20s, I would just smoke cigarette after cigarette. I could make it anywhere if I had a carton of smokes.
A carton. Oh my god.
Oh yeah, I would.
Dude.
I would light one with the one I would just. I would light
You
my
just chain
cigarette with
smoke
the
all the way
cigarette.
in there.
Yep.
Oh
Man, I don't even know what that's like. I don't. I mean, I'm sure it's terrible, but
It's terrible. It's terrible.
never smoked a cigarette in my life, so I wouldn't know.
Yeah, don't.
Didn't
Yes.
plan on it.
Yeah.
it wasn't on the bucket list.
Wasn't on the bucket list. Didn't make the top 10. Nope.
Well, yeah. You know, well, I was a BMX kid in the 90s, and it sounds counterintuitive, but everybody at the BMX track was a cigarette smoker. It was weird.
Oh wow.
You wouldn't think you would think the exact opposite. But you know, all of our parents smoked, and us trying to be rebels, we'd take one or two from our parents and we'd hop on our bikes and we'd have a smoke, and then, you know, at the end of a race after the final or whatever, we'd go out behind the track and have smoke, just dumb crap like that.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, there's a Jeremiah talking about a gas station. We used to race at this gas station or at this track, and there's a gas station next to it. And the dude would hook us up with cigarettes when we were like 13.
Oh wow.
Nice.
Yeah.
Luckily I hope that kind of stuff doesn't really happen anymore, but I'm sure it does somewhere.
I think
But
it happens with alcohol more than
alcohol,
probably
like,
right.
cigarettes, kids aren't
Vapes.
smoking anymore.
Vapes.
Yeah,
They're vaping for sure. Oh my gosh.
that stuff's ridiculous. And that stuff is ridiculous.
I'm sure that stuff's not. I'm sure
Oh,
there's going to come out some science that it's just absolutely terrible, just as bad. So
It's a million times more addictive than cigarettes.
that
They,
yeah.
pump nicotine in that. And I have buddies, I have friends that are younger and they're fighters. And like before a sparring session, they'll pop a Zyn in. And I'm like, what the F are you doing? He's like, oh, it makes you focus. It's this, it's that, and then the other. And then the next week, he's got 2 in his upper lip. I'm like, do you see what's happening here?
That is, yeah. I've heard of people doing that to stay awake and whatever. And I'm like, no, thank you. I'll just do my. I don't know what I'll do. I'll slap myself awake, I guess.
No, don't. Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't.
Well, Nick's off of caffeine.
Oh,
yeah.
no.
Newly, that has been a 3-month thing, and it's been great. If you can ditch it, it's awesome. You sleep like a baby.
How many milligrams of caffeine were you up to a day?
I could never keep track. Whatever, like 2 or 3 cans of Diet Coke is.
Oh, that ain't bad. That's like 150.
I didn't do coffee or anything like that, but I
Okay.
quit drinking caffeine. And so unfortunately I did have some caffeine at Outback on like night number 1 for this past weekend. And I was like, just sitting there laying in my bed. I'm like, I can't go to bed now. This is tragic.
I cut my caffeine off at 2 p.m. because, well, for a while I was 1,000 milligrams a day.
I bet
So,
more than that.
well, easy math. Think of it as like 5 Celsius a day is what I was
How
doing.
much is in a cup of coffee?
About 120
Yeah, it's a fair bit.
In 8 ounces or in?
a cup, so 8 ounces. Yeah.
Oh, I'm probably 10 pounds in a day.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. So, you know, right now I'm down to 600 and I've slowly been weaning off and I've been cutting the caffeine earlier and earlier. And if I can get down to 1 cup of coffee a day, I would be a happy guy.
Man,
So-
I don't drink pop. I don't drink Anything else? No energy
Well-
drinks. I got some tea here.
Zach's
I
like,
drink
let me have
coffee.
this, dang it. Let me have
Yeah.
this.
I got
No
coffee,
kidding.
water, and some beer. Like that's what I drink.
Yeah. And so I put Mio in my water twice. It's like a caffeine additive to
My
your
wife
water.
does that, yeah.
I put that in I drink about a gallon of water every day, but in like 2 bottles, I put a little bit of Mio in, and I have a Celsius. It's too much caffeine.
You just mainline it.
Oh,
Joe's at Clash this year. He's just like,
Yeah.
where's the meal?
oh no, freaking I felt so bad because people were just bringing me up white monsters one after another I'm just like, more, come on. It's like
You
I'm
can say no to
dying.
free drinks. I mean, come on.
Well, not just that, it's one of those things. So I have ADD, so caffeine works a little different.
Oh, okay.
So it wakes me up, and then it levels me out, and then it puts me to bed.
Wow.
It's weird. I can drink a monster within an hour of going to bed,
That's almost a superpower.
but I'll wake up twice. So that's why I started cutting it off at 2.
Nick,
Like,
oh,
I can
sorry,
take-
off topic.
Oh, go ahead.
Did you get sunburnt this weekend?
Oh shit.
It looks bad. I think it's just because it's a little warm in my room right now. Not really. I don't think I got burnt this weekend. No.
No, well, I got a lot of sun.
And
you
guys stuck me on the end, and I baked a little bit.
You chose your pit spot. You
Mhm.
could have pitted it
Don't
anywhere.
you guys have pop-ups?
Yeah, but the sun
Yeah.
was. I offered to set up my canopy. He didn't want it. He was too good for my canopy.
If I really wanted to, I could have gone and pitted in my air conditioned camper.
He brought
So-
a camper. And he could have.
Why aren't you pitting out of the camper?
I don't
Because there's
know.
space for like 2 people in there, and
Yeah.
he would be miserable.
Yeah,
Miserable is not true when you're not sweating your
Lonely.
little butt off. Yeah,
Lonely.
lonely is probably more correct.
like I'm looking at building a pit trailer right now, and I want to do a 14-footer with a V. And it's like, and it'll just be my son and I, and and seniors sometimes, but mostly my son and I am looking forward to getting one.
See, Andy and I talked about that, but
Look at my head. Right now, my head
Look
is
in my head.
it stopped being burnt
do you see
because
mine?
Yeah.
Is mine so bad, Nick?
No, you look pretty good.
No?
you're
Yeah.
both porcelain.
Dude, look,
No,
my
that's
neck,
definitely the lighting. Now I'm a little offended.
let me
Not really.
turn. We got studio grade lighting in here, man.
Here,
I have one.
I can turn my work light on and see if that's actually what the problem is. Oh, that's not helping anybody. But no, that's if you guys are wondering how I work on everything right here. So, and this thing is the best. You just put it on, you can see everything. Just attach, and it's on a swing arm attached. It's the best.
So I kind of want to get one of these desks for my smaller scale stuff because it raises it's actually, I have it locked now.
You still
Zach.
have it plugged in? Oh, you do?
I have it
Okay,
blocked.
normally at some point it starts going up or down in the episode.
Yeah. This thing raises up about 2 feet higher than it is now, or lowers all the way down. But yeah, no, I burnt my head 2 weeks ago because it was cloudy. And then I was volunteering. I did like 40 minutes straight of volunteer marshaling. And I didn't have my big dorky hat on. And I burnt like freaking crazy.
Well, I don't know if you saw the roar, like the podiums that we did. I had my big dorky hat on. I messed up and didn't wear it the first day. Like, I love the straw hat. It's all the coverage, keeps you way cool. But marshaling at that track was tough because it was black asphalt and they had metal chairs out in the middle of the track baking in the sun. So if you sat down, you were just like, you burnt to
Dude, it
the
wasn't
chair.
that bad. It wasn't that bad. I sat on the
okay.
chair. You were being a
Okay.
baby.
It was pretty bad.
You were
Yeah.
just a baby.
All right. Well, anyways, it's always a good podcast when we keep getting sidetracked. But yeah, I think we're coming to a close. So one thing I forgot to ask you. So who are your current sponsors? Because I got Team Associated and J Concepts.
Yeah, I keep it lightweight. It's JCon or Team Associated chassis sponsor. I run all their vehicles everywhere I can, and then Reedy powered, so batteries, ESCs, servos, all that good stuff. And then J Concepts for tires. I don't have anything else.
Awesome.
You got one more.
Sort of Rocket Power Designs.
Yep. That's cool.
Yeah, he doesn't do a lot of paint work right now. I'm trying to. He used to do a ton. Like he used to take orders like nonstop from a lot of guys. He's gotten out of it a lot. I'm trying to get him. He does great work, so I'm trying to get him to do more.
Every single painter burns out.
Every one of them.
Yeah, it's thankless, honestly.
It is. And they're like, when they charge, let's say 80 to 100 for a 10 scale buggy body, they do the math in their head when they're all excited about painting and it's fresh in their head. And then they do it for 2 years and they're like, the money's not worth it. I never want to look at another body again.
Well, when it takes 3-4 hours to do a body,
you got to do it.
It's $25 an hour.
Yeah.
He, my buddy, he always told me it wasn't like, because he enjoys doing it. He tells me that, especially like when it's for his friends. He loves doing them for the friends. Like he's like, it's a little harder when you don't know the person or whatever. But I think what he struggles with is he doesn't have a great spot to do it. So like when he mostly recently moved, he used to paint in his basement that had like an exhaust fan and it was air conditioned. And he's like, I could do it all the time. And then he moved into this new house. It doesn't have a basement. He does have a garage. So in the winter, like it's heated, he can paint out there all he wants with the exhaust and everything like that. But right now in the summer, he doesn't, it's not air conditioned. It's insulated, but not air conditioned. So it's hard to like sit.
Dude, a window unit does pretty good.
I told him, I'm like, Josh, if you paint bodies for me for free this year, I will buy you the air unit and the insulation for the garage. Cause I'm like, I don't want to find another painter. It's such a pain in the butt. Shipping bodies. Like it is a godsend to have somebody local that I can hand bodies to. And he hands me back a painted body.
Yeah. That is awesome. We have one guy right now, maybe 2 guys, and they let you know how long it's going to be, all that stuff. I tried to get one done for the vintage race, and he's like, nope, my backlog's too far. I have customers in front of me. It's like, dang, but I understand. So anyways, yeah, great episode, guys.
Thank you for having me. It's always great talking to you all.
I'm Joe Zer Jr., and with me was Zach Donathan and Nick Reppin, and we have ran out of talent. Have a good night.